If Hong Kong is on your bucket list, this episode is your playbook to doing it in style without burning a hole in your wallet.
If you've not been to UK or if you've not been to Europe and if it's your first international trip, I feel Hong Kong is a great start. It's got something for the whole family.
9 times out of 10, it is better to book an award flight into Hong Kong. Like say if you're booking the Cathay ones, availability is generally top notch. Like I think on the Cathay ones, I've seen as much as 6-7 seats available for recent flights.
Now, they always say Hong Kong has a little bit for everyone.
But with respect to shopping, the fact that there's no tax in Hong Kong, if you want to do luxury shopping, I think it's the place to go.
You were asking in the beginning, right, ki why Hong Kong?
Yeah.
I would say if you have kids, if the cheapest way to do Disneyland in the world is Hong Kong. If you're visiting for, I think, 7 to 14 days, I think it's absolutely visa-free. So if you are looking for an area to shop street style, bargaining style, go to Bangkok.
Yeah, Bangkok is like Chickpet basically.
Yeah.
Bangkok is Chickpet and Tsui then will become something like, Com Street.
Yesterday, somebody pinged me on Twitter asking me, I have 51k Amex points. What should I do? This is exactly what I suggested. Yeah. Both of you go travel Hong Kong and while coming back, take revenue things, right? So Qatar, in my view, is the best option. If you can book, it's actually more sweeter than the Cathay Pacific itself. जब मैं बोल रहा हूँ, जाओ Hong Kong. It's a beautiful destination, very underrated, and I've seen a lot of tweets, by the way, people talking about Singapore and how it is super expensive. Hong Kong is actually not that expensive. It's an expensive city, not as expensive as Singapore. If you know the right places to eat, if you know the right places to stay, if you have miles, if you have points, it's a crazy place to go.
Flashing bright, we're on the go. Tune in now, there's so much to know. Earning bits, travel dreams we sow. All aboard the great Indian Points and Miles show. 0 to hero in the blink of an eye. Fly first class, no need to be shy. Redemption sweet, touching the sky. Award seats booked, let's give it a try. Award seats booked, let the points flow. It's all aboard the great Indian Points and Miles show. Unlocking journeys wherever you go. The sky's the limit, feel the travel mojo.
Miles, dim sum and skyscrapers. Your points and miles guide to Hong Kong. Hong Kong, a city where neon-lit streets meet Michelin-star street food, where luxury hotels overlook the Victoria Harbour, and when savvy travelers can unlock incredible experiences using points and miles. In this episode of the Great Indian Points and Miles Show, we deep down into everything you need to know about making the most of your miles in Hong Kong. From the best flight redemptions and transfer bonuses to iconic hotels that offer top-tier luxury or even killer value for money for that matter, we've got you covered. We'll also talk about optimizing your spend with the right credit cards, exploring the city's non-stop sights, and of course, where to feast on the best Cantonese cuisine without breaking the bank. If Hong Kong is on your bucket list, this episode is your playbook to doing it in style without burning a hole in your wallet. With that, let's get started. Like always, we've got my co-founders, Dhimant and Ameya, for this show. And today, they're dazzling in India colors. They're dazzling in India colors because India is playing Pakistan today when we are recording. This is the clash of the Titans at the Champions Trophy. And don't think that I am not patriotic or not into cricket. I couldn't find my jersey. And by the time I realized, we already started recording this episode. So abhi ghar jaake wahi minded hai that we're going to go and get glued to our televisions, grab some popcorn, maybe order something on Swiggy and glue into those television sets. But before we do that, we said, let's finish recording this particular episode on Hong Kong. And with that, welcome Ameya. Thanks, Deepak, for joining me.
By the way, talking of the matches, I found one very interesting double dip recently. So
Started on that.
hear it out. So there is this Dream 11 company called Dream Set Go.
Yeah.
They help you book premium experiences, box seats for cricket and F1 and football and whatnot. Now, if for every 100 rupees that you spend on Dream Set Go, you're gonna get 2 Chris Flyer miles. So we'll leave the link in the description, but in case you want to go and watch some nice Champions Trophy final or whatnot, then here's where you can feel a little better for spending all that money.
Awesome. So with that, let's get cracking with this episode. And before we get into nerding out about cards, points, miles, frequent flyer programs, hotel loyalty, where do you stay, all of that, let's just talk on a meta level about Hong Kong. What do y'all think is so exciting that makes Hong Kong special? I'm wondering, is it like the dazzling skyline? Is it the fusion of the East with the West? Is it really the sheer energy of the city? Is it those Cantonese dim sums? I'm sure we got a lot of that today. But perhaps get you started, Diva.
Sure. I think starts from a little bit of more cultural thing, right, for me. I think, first of all, culturally, Hong Kong has a very UK-ish culture, right? So if you have not been to UK or if you've not been to Europe and if it's your first international trip, I feel Hong Kong is a great start, right? So that's the first thing. Great infrastructure as a country. You feel as if you're, spending time in Europe, right? So that's the beautiful thing. Also, it's a great mix of the West and the East, right? So you can actually feel the Chinese sense of food and a little bit of Chinese stuff around you, and then there's also this entire UK European culture that is mixing along everything, be it food, be it tourism, everything, right? So you'll see this nice mix of things going by. That's the first thing. Secondly, there is a fair amount of people who are interested in history. I mean, if you read about the history of Hong Kong, it's quite fascinating actually, right? It was under the UK rule for a long time, and in then 97, it was signed off that in 50 years they would hand it over back to China as planned, right? And then suddenly people started going there saying ki pata nahi baad mein kya hoga, let's start visiting Hong Kong. And China has been pushing to get it in under their control for a long time. And I feel, Adil, the thing is, from 1997 to 2017-18, there was a mass tourism wave that happened in Hong Kong. If you remember, Pallav in one of our Qatar episodes spoke how the flight is very empty in the Cathay flight these days, right? Actually, I remember because I've been to Hong Kong like 4 or 5 times, and that flight used to be crazily full. I have never been able to find a cheap revenue ticket on that flight from Cathay Pacific from Bangalore or Bombay to Hong Kong, right? And large reason was that tourism saw a massive inflection point. And in 2019, there was this entire piece around protests happening where, people wanted the Chinese rule to not come in and it got ugly. That's where tourism started dipping, and then COVID happened, right? So Singapore has taken away a lot of this charm from Hong Kong in tourism, right? But if you ask me personally, I'm a big fan of Hong Kong, right? So in the close destinations to India, which is Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai, me and Amay were just chatting about it, right? I would still rank Hong Kong on the top one. It's got something for the whole family. That's another reason. You spoke about Skylines, but as we go deep into the Hong Kong tourism aspect, right, you'll realize that for kids, for yourself, for your parents, if you're taking them along, it's got something for everything, right? So for me, that's one of the reasons. Very, very transactional detail. It's got almost like a visa-free entry for you. Singapore, you'll have to wait for 5 days, 3 days. You don't need to wait in Hong Kong, right? It's a PAR system. So you just apply online, and if you're visiting for, I think, 7 to 14 days, I think it's absolutely visa-free. And they don't charge you also anything. It's not like you have to pay something for an e-visa.
Do note though that I believe from a few cities, if your passport is issued, there can be some problems with the PAR system. So don't rely on it saying that, you're just going to get an entry inside. Get the form filled in. Like, for example, I believe if your passport is issued in Calcutta, for some reason I've heard a number of cases where there is trouble in obtaining this PAR.
Chandigarh is also one.
Chandigarh is the other one.
So again, I'll explain the specifics of the PR system, right? So the PR is basically a form attached to your passport number. The moment you put it in the system, it approves it saying, okay, you can come for 14 days now. Now, for whatever reasons, if Chandigarh wale ka, for example, refuse ho gaya PR, it doesn't mean you cannot go. You then have to apply for a proper visa, right? And the visa takes 3 to 4 weeks. So my recommendation would be that if you still have time, try applying for the PR a month in advance. If not, obviously you can go and try it out because it's free anyways, right? So, and also if possible, don't make too many committed bookings before getting the PR. Also, one critical thing, and I think a lot of people have tweeted about it, and I've seen videos where people are crying saying कि मेरा पूरा trip cancel हो गया. So there is a very weird thing in the PR form. And Adil, I know you're planning a Hong Kong trip. Be very careful, right? So when you select the drop down of your city of birth and the city of issue of passport, you have Mumbai, Maharashtra, you have Mumbai / Maharashtra, comma Maharashtra. If it doesn't match with your exact thing in the passport, they deny entry. So that's one thing you should be taking care about.
It's a very helpful tip.
Yeah.
That's a very helpful tip. I don't think most people will go into that level of detail. So thanks for pointing it.
But I'll flip your point with respect to saying that book 1 month early. On the other side, this is also something where you can do stuff like, if you have a long weekend coming and, things open up and you just want to go. If apply for the PR, you get it. It's great.
Exactly.
And flights are relatively accessible through points and we can anyway talk.
Asia Miles is like a great option, right? And you can get 4 to 8 seats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, not just Asia. I mean, Asia Miles anyway, availability is like top notch. But even on the Qatar program, it's easy to transfer into that and taxes are lower. So if you're able to get
Let me
Qatar...
talk about the last trip then, right? Adil knows this, right? So we were actually shooting a large podcast here when I was leaving for Hong Kong and the last time. Till about 3 days before, I was going to go to Vietnam, right? And suddenly it happened that we had to go 2 days later. So we had to just go and apply a PAR because we decided to do a Disneyland trip. It's a way to do a Disneyland trip, right? I mean, you just go there, go to Disneyland, come back. Right? And we decided and applied for a PAR and that's how it worked out, right? So you don't need to worry about, that's a very much doable thing.
Yeah, and it's not that much more expensive either, right? Like say, for example, last minute tickets in India, looking at the rates that we are at, like 12,500 miles for a ticket one way. Yeah. It's awesome. It's, I mean, of course, the city is a little more expensive, but I mean, different
2016,
experience.
same trip with my wife and my, 2018 actually, with my wife and my daughter. I remember very well, Cathay Pacific, one person from Bangalore to Hong Kong, revenue was 95,000 rupees.
Oh.
95,000 rupees. Today, that revenue ticket is not even 95,000 because of the interest that is lost. I would say, जिस तरह से Maldives का हुआ था, right? People are saying Maldives मत जाओ. मैं बोल रहा हूँ जाओ Hong Kong. It's a beautiful destination, very underrated. And I've seen a lot of tweets, by the way, people talking about Singapore and how it is super expensive. Hong Kong is actually not that expensive. It's an expensive city, not as expensive as Singapore. If you know the right places to eat, if you know the right places to stay, if you have miles, if you have points, it's a crazy place to go.
So let's talk about that. Let's double click into that. Now, based on what you said, Dima, what's like the best time to visit Hong Kong? I mean, I will come to you. Should one go in the shoulder season? Should you go during the festivals? When does one go?
Yeah, I think avoid typhoon season for sure. I think that is one thing to be super careful about. Apart from that, you can definitely hit some of the festive times. Like say, for example, Hong Kong is very beautiful during Christmas is one thing. Even during the Chinese New Year, you've got I think a very nice festive vibe over there. So if you do want to hit one of these, I think it is great. Apart from that, year round, the temperatures and things are not so extreme. So that's okay. But typhoon season is definitely to be avoided in Hong Kong for sure.
Yeah, so I have been in Hong Kong almost 6 months of the year I've been there. So I'll tell you what my preference is. Again, this is the mixture of the East and the West, right? So one beautiful time is to go in December. Right from 1st of December, it has got a very Christmassy vibe. Again, advantage of being a UK colony in the past, right? So I think you went in December.
I went in.
Very Christmassy vibe, right? And if you stay at the right places, which we'll talk about, you will actually feel that you are in a European city. Beautiful time, right? The second beautiful season to go is somewhere in Jan, because just before the festive Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year starts, right? I was there recently in the same time. Tourism is not at its peak, but at the same time, there are festivities around. You will see the Chinese Oriental decoration. So these are two things you can hit. These are two of my favorite ones. Also, like you said, unlike Singapore, it doesn't get that hot. Right, so the weather is also slightly better than Singapore. So it's not that humid as well. So my favorite months of the year are either December or just before the Lunar New Year.
On that, let's move to getting there. how does one go to Hong Kong? And we'll split this into two parts. The first part we want to do is flying to Hong Kong using revenue. Let's say somebody doesn't have points and miles. What are our options? And let's talk about passenger experience. We're like, which are the best flights to go to? Who has great seats? Who has great food? Who has great service? Where the passenger experience is top notch. Let's start with that. And then let's go one level deeper into, if you are using miles, will this change? And if it change, based on what? Let's get into details like what are redemption rates? What will be the amount of taxes? Direct connectivity makes sense? Or should we fly through an alternate route? Let's get into all of that. So maybe starting with you, Amya, we'll come to talking about revenue options first, and then let's get into the miles options.
Sure. With respect to direct connectivity, right? So you've got Cathay Pacific flies out of a number of Indian cities. I believe they have Bombay, Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore, Delhi. I think maybe one more here or there. I might have missed something. And while those flights are great, on revenue, they can be quite expensive from time to time. You can get a good deal, maybe not. They fly like A350s, really nice planes. It's good. It's like a nice, comfortable experience. It's an airline that I like in general. I think it's fine. There's also Air India. I know for sure they fly out of Delhi. I think they may have a Bombay flight. I'm not entirely sure of that. That's probably your cheaper flights when it comes to booking on revenue. Now, but however, Hong Kong is one thing that I will definitely say that, like 9 times out of 10, it is better to book an award flight into Hong Kong. And the flights that you will want to book is going to be, like, say, if you're booking the Cathay ones, because Cathay is on the One World network, you can either book directly on the Cathay network, or you can book using something like Qatar, which are probably the two more accessible and easy ways to go about it. Availability is generally top notch. Like, I think on the Cathay ones, I've seen as much as 6-7 seats available for recent flights and whatnot. It's also a cheap rate, like 12,500 points. I think it's a very nice, sweet number because you can get good value there. Qatar also is great. Like, I'd say if you're able to find availability on Qatar, it's normally better because from a tax perspective, you have to pay far lesser taxes. So Qatar, I believe you get 13 and something thousand, but with minimal taxes. Cathay Pacific is like 12,500.
So you're saying using Qatar, book Cathay.
Book Cathay.
Yeah. So let's just break it down for our users. If you're saying you want to book Cathay, then there are two options is what you're saying. First, go ahead, transfer your points to Asia Miles. So if you have something like American Express points, let's say if you're doing a solo trip, 25,000 points are good enough for a one-way ticket because of the transfer ratio of
25,000 Amex points.
Amex points.
Yeah.
25,000 MR points is equal to
one way
economy ticket direct on Cathay Pacific Asia.
Correct.
And 50,000 points will get you a return
ticket.
Now, if the same thing you're saying, if you move it to Qatar, the mileage requirement goes up by maybe 1,000 or 500, but the taxes substantially comes down.
That is correct.
So the same thing can be done via Amex to Qatar as well.
Amex to
but
Qatar.
There are other partner options where Qatar is more efficient, so you could consider that.
Right.
But using Qatar, you're saying book Cathay only.
Yeah, book the Cathay flight itself. It's a direct flight. It's a very efficient 4.5-5 hour kind of a flight, and it takes you like straight to Hong Kong.
Can you talk a little bit more about the Cathay on-flight experience? What's that like?
Sure. So they upgraded their fleet lately, all A350s. So very modern, nice flights.
Yeah.
They're not the most flashy of airlines, but they've got a good product. Even in economy, there's like decent legroom. The seats are comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that flight timings are also nice. I don't know from all the Indian cities, but the Bangalore one, you basically, I think, board close to midnight or a little past that. And I think maybe 2 a.m., 3 a.m. or something. But importantly, you land in Hong Kong at around, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., that kind of a thing. So you land and then you have the entire day ahead of you where you can do things. So I think it's a very nicely timed flight also. So that can work out well. The other option is obviously you can fly the Air India one. So you can either use the Air India program itself, or you could do something like Aeroplan is the one which is going to get
more efficient. Is the AI program more efficient or Aeroplan for Air India?
Aeroplan for Air India is definitely more efficient from a points perspective. But Aeroplan, the only practical transfer partner is our Axis. And if your Axis points are logged up
There
elsewhere,
is HDFC, but it's a 0.5, so
yeah, it doesn't make sense over there. So Air India
the
is...
problem with Axis you're saying is Group A, so that's like an issue.
That is correct.
Yeah.
But sorry, which flight is this? This is the Air India flight, is it?
Yeah.
This is the Air India flight, direct flight to Hong Kong.
See, again, this is like I've always flown Cathay Pacific, right? So for me, I think there is no reason for that person to even consider anything out of Cathay, honestly. So one time I had to fly because of insane rates on Cathay. I had to take a Thai connectivity flight, which was the most horrendous experience I had. I missed the flight, a connecting flight at Bangkok, and they put me on the... I was about to miss. They put me on the flight, but my bag didn't come on the flight. So I reached Hong Kong without my bag, right? It was insane. I mean, I don't know what coordination errors they had, but so I've always flown Cathay, and I've never had an issue with Cathay as a whole, right? I mean, pre-2016 and 18, I think there was some issues with the aircraft being older, etc. But now they've renewed the entire aircraft. There's enough and more capacity available. Unless you're flying on a very, very strong demand date, I think it should be good, I feel.
But I will still put it out in this way, right? Like, I think if you think that you are planning for a trip to a place like Hong Kong, I think one should demand oneself to get into the miles game just for that, just for the extra value.
So yesterday somebody pinged me on Twitter asking me, Diman, tell me I have 51k Amex points. What should I do? This is exactly what I suggested. I asked him, do you have 2 people, 1 person? He said 2 people. I said, okay, then one way, both of you go travel Hong Kong. And while coming back, take revenue, because while coming back, the revenue was looking cheaper. So I said, come back revenue le lo, and if possible, if you can buy more Amex points, if there's a possibility for you to take the plat charge or whatever, do that. It's still, because imagine, plat charge pay, if it takes a 1.5 bonus, even by paying 80,000, that's one way revenue for maybe 2 people, right? So from that sense, it maybe made sense for him, right? Now, I agree with you, it makes complete sense. Now, Adil, I'll just double down on the Avios part that you said, right? The second best choice in my head is Avios, right, outside Amex. And Avios mein, I had some decent experience in terms of going to Iberia, going to Qatar. There are some sweet spots, okay? And I'll tell you the sweet spots. In Qatar, the taxes are the cheapest, like he said. Perfect, right? Even within India, it changes. It's 4,000 from Bangalore. It's 2,000 from Chennai. If you are possible for you to fly in Chennai and go from there, it's even cheaper from a tax perspective, right? And there are times where you won't see a flight on Qatar from Bangalore maybe, but you will see it on Chennai. Same with Hyderabad. And Iberia has got another sweet spot. Iberia mein, there are tiers of booking, right? On the cheapest tier, minimum taxes and X points. You also have an option to pay less points if you have, but cash plus revenue, right? Whatever. Cash plus points. And it has got some 5 levels. So agar ye banda, the person I'm talking about is 50k miles, but if he has Avios, he would have still be able to do something about it. Right? So one thing to take care is Iberia ka cancellation is a slightly more difficult part, because India, Iberia doesn't have a full-fledged office. So you have to coordinate with a US Iberia and some of those things. Right? So Qatar, in my view, is the best option. If you can book, it's actually more sweeter than the Cathay Pacific itself. When I would choose Cathay Pacific Asia Miles is over Qatar is when availability on Qatar is a problem, because Cathay, the large availability that you spoke about is not on Cathay, on Qatar. It's only on Cathay.
Well, it depends.
2 seats,
2 seats max.
Max is what
I do know. So a friend of our show, Vishwanath, whom we did the Accor episode with, was actually able to get 4 seats on Qatar.
Yeah.
But there is a Chennai one. So I think it depends. But
like as we spoke in the earlier episode, it's dynamic. They keep releasing seats as and when possible. So my suggestion is always check. There's a great chance that you will find Cathay Pacific seats either on Qatar or on Asia Miles. My suggestion is these are the 2 best programs.
So Asia Miles, Avios. There could be another one for those of you who are trying to do, like, because Amir is a believer in double dips. You might want, let's say, if you want to do Singapore and Hong Kong. Then KrisFlyer could be an interesting route where you can use
that's what I think.
stopover.
That's why
Aeroplan or KrisFlyer both can work out very well over there.
That's what Vish did. So once he went by, I think, Cathay Pacific. While coming back, he did Singapore Airlines. Took a stopover, free stopover at Singapore. Stayed at the Swiss hotel, I think, and then came back. So.
Man, we all have a thing for Swiss hotel, don't we? It's insane. So, all right. So we've spoken about economy redemptions on flights. And we've landed that there are 3 potential options. First one we said is use Asia Miles, fly on Cathay. Direct makes most sense. 2, use Qatar Avios. Again, fly on Cathay because it's easier, low taxes. 3rd, if you want to club Singapore, then KrisFlyer could be an interesting route. Aeroplan could be an interesting route where you could again potentially use Singapore Airlines or Air India.
I would twist the first second. I would say first try Qatar.
Yeah.
Qatar नहीं मिला तो Cathay Pacific पे करो is what I would recommend. By the way, sorry, I forgot one point. You can actually book it even on British Airways Avios as well. If you have miles stuck and the transfer is stuck or whatever reason, but वहाँ पे
stuck, but the rates are a little
so
higher.
So all your Avios partners have that flight available. I mean, just wanted to add that. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. So we've spoken about economy. Now let's talk about business and first redemption sweet spots. What does the canvas look like? Let's start with you.
Yeah, I think the same flight, Cathay Pacific, I think has got crazy availability on business. I think four seats they release, 4 to 6 seats I've seen. I think mileage I actually don't remember. It's
40,000.
40,000, yeah. It's roughly 40,000 Asia miles.
On this front though, like it's a 4.5 hour flight. So I don't think... I don't know how much sense it makes to take business for such a shorter one. Right?
Also, just to add to the way Adil thinks about this, right? I mean, if you were flying Cathay Pacific, I would actually recommend not to do business because of 2 reasons. One, short flight. Secondly, I think you don't have any crazy lounges at Hong Kong, which competes with a Doha or a Emirates kind of a lounge.
Also, the Amex Centurion will solve it.
Yeah, Amex Centurion solves for it. In fact, exactly. And the third part is on flight experience of food and drinks is not that.
It's okay.
It's average.
It's average.
It doesn't stand up to, let's say, a Qatar or a Singapore.
Got it.
So that's what my recommendation would be. Don't fly Cathay Pacific business unless it is your anniversary or you want to make sure it's special.
Yeah, let's say there are better and more effective ways of burning miles.
Right. But when you're if you're doing the Singapore redemption via Singapore, then it's perfect actually because you'll get a longer layover in a business class, right? So
you have the Silver Chris Lounge.
Yeah.
Like so, one of the things I want to tell our viewers, obviously both of you know this, is Singapore Airlines has 2 lounges. One is called the Silver Chris Lounge. The other one is KrisFlyer Gold Lounge. But typically, conventional wisdom has it that gold means more superior, right? But the gold lounge is for Star Alliance members, and the Silver Chris Lounge is for the business class passengers. So here, in a rare twist, the Silver Chris Lounge is far more sexier than the Gold Lounge. So if you have a chance, try and visit the Silver Chris Lounge and not necessarily the Gold Lounge.
Yeah.
So that SQ is a very interesting option.
But I'll tell you what I feel, right? And again, pardon me for my slight bias here because I've been to Hong Kong few times and I don't think anybody should club Singapore and Hong Kong.
Sure.
And I'll tell you why I feel that way. I suggested him the same also for when he was doing Japan plus Hong Kong. I told him ki khali Japan karo. Hong Kong deserves more time. You stayed for 3 days, right?
3 days. So yeah.
7 days, I can guarantee you will not get bored in Hong Kong. It's an amazing place. You have, by the way, just for making it clear for everybody, when you're doing Hong Kong, you're also doing Macau, right? And Macau is like the Vegas of the East, right? So you have to do Macau if you haven't been to Vegas. If you haven't been to Vegas, you can do Macau. But 7 days, you will not feel that you have not kind of made the best use out of your time. So I actually would recommend do Singapore separately, right? Singapore has its own charm. Hong Kong has its own charm. Don't mix both the charms. Do both separately. And I would recommend do both of them before Dubai. Like, that's my personal point of view.
But I mean, the thing with Hong Kong also, I think for a lot of people is like where it works out really well is that your flights are covered in 50,000 miles for 2 people return.
Perfect.
That's a great deal. I mean, I think that's as much as you're going to spend on a holiday in India.
But what is the tax for Cathay Pacific? It's 8,000.
Bangalore is a little higher, 6,000, 7,000 types. It's lower from other cities.
Follow-up question. We've discussed Cathay. We've discussed Avios. Is there a Qantas play here?
It's there, but it's a little more expensive. You can do it, but the point requirement...
Is that for our people who have Atlas and Magnus, Qantas is a Group B.
Yeah.
And therefore, people normally have a lot of availability in Group B to transfer.
Yes.
So, Are there potential?
Yeah, there is. So the same flight Cathay is also available.
Available on
On
Qantas.
Qantas.
It's available, and
Right.
I did check it.
Yeah.
So the problem with Qantas is one is the availability was not as good as Qatar also.
Got
So
it.
I could find the flight on Qatar, but I couldn't find it on
So it's
Qantas.
more restrictive.
Restricted.
Number of seats.
Number of seats. Also, on Qantas, the taxes were double of
Yeah.
Qatar.
Oh, double.
Double of Qatar almost. Right. So I think it was 7,000, which is as good as the
good
Cathay Pacific.
Cathay Pacific.
But the points requirement is much higher. as well.
Higher also. Right. So for me, Qantas didn't work.
Yeah.
So Qantas, Iberia, British Airways, Qatar, Cathay Pacific, I tried all of them.
Got it.
I did direct Cathay Pacific one side and I did Qatar the other side.
Anything else we want to add before we close out the flight section?
Let me speak about the Macau bit here a little bit, right? Because you're also going to Macau. So when you go to Cathay Pacific, to Hong Kong via Cathay Pacific, you are landing at the terminal. There are two options that you can do, right? You can actually go to Hong Kong, right? And then you can come back and take a ferry to Macau and then come back to Hong Kong. The other way of doing it is also you can get out of Hong Kong, go to Macau from the airport because there's a ferry from the airport to Macau and then get back to Hong Kong, right? So that saves you one immigration lesser.
Yeah.
All said and done, I mean, the immigration from Hong Kong to Macau and back is not that problematic. So
It's not problematic, but it's one more set of immigration
one more set
to
of
do or
immigration,
avoid.
right? So, by the way, the ferry is fantastic and I love that experience. So, I would recommend anybody to go and try that out. I mean, they're so efficient. Every half an hour, there is a ferry. There are two companies. One lands in the Macau inner port, one lands in the Macau outer port, and one of them is a red ferry, one of them is a blue ferry. Like, it's like such a easy thing to do, right? I mean, you don't need to pre-book anything.
Yeah.
कभी भी जाओ आपको आधे घंटे पहले भी जाओगे आपको मिल जाएगा like it's a very very cleanly done trip, right? So from an airlines perspective, I strongly recommend go with Cathay Pacific. You won't be disappointed.
Got it. All right, so let's jump into our third section. So what we've talked about so far is we've talked about why Hong Kong. The next thing that we spoke about is flights. Now that we know how to redeem these, right, and what are efficient transfer partners, let's talk about how can we earn these miles. And therefore, one of the things that you both said is the most efficient route is the Avios route. Now, if one has to earn Avios, what are our default and go-to ways of earning Avios, which are the most lucrative? Amir, I will start with you.
America answer to I know. You'll get a InterContinental card, no? That you're done with 50,000 Avios.
Yeah, no, but the InterContinental card is a shortcut to getting instant 50,000 Avios if you need to. So I think think of it as buying Avios.
So, will your recommendation be as number one, get the InterContinental Avios,
Yeah.
get 50,000 BA,
Yes.
and then immediately move those BA to Qatar,
Right.
and then from there make the booking?
Correct. I think that is the most efficient way of going about it. Well, see, Avios has got transfer partners on pretty much everything else, right? So from Amex, you can move directly into Qatar if you need to.
Qatar 2:1.
At a 2:1 and to Amex 2:1 this
Yeah.
thing. You have HDFC where you move 1:1 to Finnair and then you transfer to Qatar. We've talked about that in the past. Axis as well. In the Group A, you've got Qatar in which you can do a direct 1:1. HSBC Premier, if you have that card, you can move 1:1 from there also into this one. And of course, Atlas as well in the Axis side, which is so. Options are well out there and they're wide. You can pick out from any of these 5-6 ones. Get your Avios in. In case you do have Amex points though, and if you want to book from Cathay instead, the critical thing to note is the currency used to be called Asia Miles.
Yes.
They now call it Green Points. So don't get confused by it. In the Amex website, it still says Asia Miles. So yeah, and transfer to Asia Miles, it will get into your Cathay account.
The only way to earn Asia Miles as of now is Amex, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, you were saying.
So my simplest way of doing it would be if you want to do it right now,
Yeah.
and you are eligible for a flat charge, get a flat charge,
Yeah.
do it on Amex.
Break down the math.
Math is simple, right? You pay 78,000
78,000,
with
yeah.
taxes.
Yeah.
You get 1.5 lakh MR.
Correct.
1.5 lakh MR mein, if you are a family of 3,
Yeah.
It's a return ticket.
That's
3 economy tickets.
75,000. 3
Yeah.
economy return tickets.
Yeah.
You're done, sorted.
Yeah.
The second way of doing
But
it.
if you were to book this on revenue, how much would that be?
Revenue, again, it depends on when you are booking it. But if
But
you're
it will
booking
be more than this for sure.
Yeah,
like 3
it would be-
people, you'll get
okay,
into
let's take an
minimum
example.
lakh.
100% a return flight would minimum cost you 50,000 if booked
To Hong Kong?
To Hong Kong.
So basically, you're saying at 50% of the cost, you'll get this done, and
Exactly.
you'll get a card that will give you lots of status benefits,
Exactly.
and you can juice it for the whole year.
Exactly. The second way of doing it is I want to see this episode and plan next year Disneyland trip for my kids.
Yeah.
I would get the trifecta.
Yeah.
Trifecta is even cheaper, right?
Oh yeah, that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah,
as well,
trifecta.
right?
Yeah.
So let's break down the
Sure.
costs again. And 100k miles is what you get in a year.
Correct.
But the costs are going to be what, $1,000 for the gold charge card.
If you take referrals, you got 1,000 rupees the gold charge.
Yeah.
You got 5,000 rupees, which is the platinum travel.
Yeah.
You got the MRCC, which is
1,000 again.
1,000 again, I think.
So 7,000 plus GST, so less than 10,000.
10,000.
And a spending for a year.
4 lakh. 4
5
4 lakh.
close to.
Huh?
5 lakhs. Put it
Roughly
at
5 to 6 lakhs.
Yeah.
So 6 lakhs spending in a year, spend 10,000 rupees, get the 3 credit cards, which is the Amex Platinum Travel, the Gold Charge, and then the MRCC or the
Correct.
membership rewards.
Correct.
Spend 6 lakhs in the whole year, and then you rack up 100,000 miles.
Exactly.
And you will get 2 tickets, return tickets, worth $1 lakh.
Yes, and the
for
reason
$10,000.
and the reason
That's unbelievable.
and the reason I'm telling that use the Amex route and not the Avios route is because Avios में you may be disappointed after getting everything कि चलो availability नहीं है मेरे date का. Cathay Pacific availability is not going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Also, the sexy part about Amex is the points don't expire.
Yeah,
Keep
exactly.
them. And when it's time to travel, then we'll figure it out. Like, there's no need to transfer.
So if you are a HNI or a UHNI, and like I know a lot of people, Adil, who have been calling us saying कि मेरे को जाना है, मेरे पास पैसा भी है, लेकिन मेरे पास points नहीं है. I want to do it on points. This is a perfect way, ना? Flat charge, status symbol भी आ गया आपके पास, and and if you are not a HNI and you want to genuinely have a card for spends, get the trifecta.
Yeah.
Simple. Like I would strongly recommend. Other one is what we jokingly were talking, but I think that's a serious
It is.
option. Like get the 50,000 Avios. What is the cost of that card, by the way?
40,000 or something.
40,000.
plus
Right? So
GST.
even that
yeah.
could be a good option.
Is there like a third angle for earning points? Like, for example, Alaska is a very interesting option.
Alaska,
Can there be some sweet spots there?
I mean, if you have, say,
But
with
the route there is going to be Amex to
Marriott to Alaska. Right, so then that-
the ratios get screwed up. But have you all seen?
No, I've not.
I've actually done the calculation and it doesn't work out as well as
math
the
doesn't
others.
make
The
sense.
math doesn't make sense at all.
So Adil, I want to drop a bomb here before
Yeah.
we go ahead.
Yeah.
I want to just let you guys guess how much I spent on the entire trip for hotels and flights. Just take a wild guess.
Points of
So let's
Not no
break it
points,
down.
only the cash.
Only the
Revenue
cash.
component.
Let's break it down.
so how many days you're there
So
for?
you went,
7
you were
days.
3 people, you, your wife, and your daughter. So 3 return tickets. So return tickets. Amya, let's decode this.
Let's say-
We are guessing he booked it on Avios.
He booked
maybe on
Iberia
Airlines
once.
because he was
Right.
last. Maybe he spent 18,000 on taxes.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
20,000 round figure.
20,000 on taxes, and then he must have booked all 7 nights on Accor. Accor ka we know that he used the China program, so he had 2 nights free there for sure. So 1 night he will have to pay. 1 night.
There's 50% vouchers and whatnot.
Rupees, 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees he would have to pay. So I'm going out on a limb and saying 25,000.
Out of pocket 30,000 max.
Yeah. So he's absolutely bang on. So it's just 28,000 cash.
Yeah.
And the hotels, 7 nights, was cash 934 rupees. One night.
Incredible. Incredible.
So,
No, of
like,
course, this is
obviously-
a little cheating because we are obviously using points, but
Yeah.
yeah.
but cash component.
Yeah, out of
I mean,
pocket.
so again, let's break it down, right? So,
by the way, before we go there, the trip was planned 48 hours before leaving.
But that's
Let's
the
not.
beauty of Asia Miles that we're trying to explain.
Exactly.
On green points, like Amya corrected us. We're saying there's massive award availability directly on Cathay, so you can plan last minute stuff. So what you did was you burnt. How did you move? You moved Amex, right? So you did 50k into 3. So you moved 150k Amex points.
By the way, I used my wife's Amex point because she has the trifecta. So I exactly
Yeah.
did what I said.
Yeah.
Last year, my wife had taken the trifecta.
Yeah.
She had accumulated 90,000 points.
We should get her on the show, man.
Yeah, and that's what we did. I mean, yeah. And sorry, you were saying something.
So 150k Amex points give you 3 economy tickets. You probably spent 20.
No, I did it part. I did on Cathay Pacific. Part
Yeah.
I did via Avios.
ठीक है.
One
So
way Avios
either ways, you would have spent 20,000 rupees
Correct.
of taxes.
Correct.
You spent about $1,000 on hotels, like you said, and there obviously will be some
Exactly,
out-of-pocket
exactly,
expenses.
exactly.
But so there you have it. That's incredible. Can you break down what Accor properties you stayed at?
Sure.
and talk a little bit about, I know this is out of topic, but I think the geek in me wants to cover this. All three of us sitting here, we not only have the Accor Plus Explorer membership, we have the Traveler membership, we have the Brazilian membership, and we have the Chinese membership.
And we also have Platinum.
Yeah, and we are Platinums luckily. Break down what the Chinese membership was, what you bought it for, and then break down the benefits you got
Sure.
when you were in Hong Kong.
Sure.
Once you finish that, let's talk about the other 5 nights. Where did you stay?
Perfect.
And then how many points, just so
Sure.
that people get a sense.
So, my and Amay's experience here is slightly diverse. So maybe he can talk about a little
Yeah.
bit stuff that you said. I did not use the free nights.
Oh, you did use the...
I did not use the free nights, right? And
Why?
I'll tell you why. Yeah. So the free night availability, one problem was that it requires a very complex
एक
process.
मिनट, थोड़ा रिमाइंड करते हैं. Can you start with the China program?
Sure.
थोड़ा explain करो and then we'll come.
Perfect. So the Chinese program is basically like a card.
Yeah.
Like there is an Ibis Voyager card that we have in India. We had, I think. I don't know if it's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah, we have a Chinese card and there are levels of the card, right?
Yes.
So each card gives you something. The card that we chose was the highest level of card. Which
Super
gives you-
Joy.
Super Joy card, yeah. I mean, they have this
And
proper
that has
Chinese
to be
name.
translated from Chinese to English because you can't see it in English.
Yeah, I hope the friend who helped me book this in the US number is seeing this episode.
Give him a shout out.
Yeah, Vikrant, thank you so much. I know it was how difficult it was for you. So he actually called him up in the US. He's in Chicago. He woke up. He actually went through the entire process of making an WeChat account. Then from the WeChat, he actually had to translate every page to realize what was that Super Joy card. And he had just woken up. So like crazy amount of help, right? When you buy this card, you straight away get 30 nights. 30, right?
30 nights.
30 nights.
Right,
Which is
so-
Elite Nights credit.
Yeah, I was exactly on 31 nights.
Yeah. And
Right,
that
so-
you qualified for Platinum.
Platinum state. And within 30 seconds, I got the message that you are now a Platinum customer. The moment I did that, there is a
2 sweet night upgrades unlocked.
yes,
Because of Platinum.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's one. Secondly, it gives you 2 nights free in Hong Kong.
Yes.
And that is the time I suddenly says कि वापस Hong Kong जाने का time आ गया है. So actually I planned that Hong Kong trip because of that reason, because it ignited that
Yeah,
idea
yeah.
कि it's a, you were asking in the beginning, right, कि why Hong Kong?
Yeah.
I would say if you have kids, if the cheapest way to do Disneyland in the world is Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
And by the way, for me, it scores above the other Disneylands that I have done.
Why? Talk a little bit about it.
Beautiful park, very very friendly for Cosmo public. I mean, they are not, they encourage English culture a lot. Paris, we had a very very difficult time going to Hong Kong because the language was very very difficult to communicate and translate and everything, right? Super helpful. The sections there are beautiful. They have the new the Frozen section, which is, other one is in Japan and the one is in US. So they have the Frozen section, which is very easy to get into. In Japan, it's very hard to get into the Frozen section. You need a special pass for that, right? So that's one. Secondly, they have amazing sections which are very unique to Hong Kong. For example, there's a Star Wars area. If you're a Star Wars fan, there is a section where you can actually go and battle Darth Vader, right? So for your kid, it's amazing, right? So in my head, I think it's a beautiful Disneyland trip. So our original plan was to just land in Hong Kong, go to Disneyland, come back.
Right.
Right? But you asked me why I did not do those free nights, because those two free nights were available in certain hotels.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to do the best hotel that possibly is, which is the Mondrian. And that's why I did not take the free nights.
Right.
Just to answer your question.
Right.
So let's talk about the hotels now. I think
Yeah, let's
maybe
get into that.
so let's talk about the hotel, right? So for me, I was clear I wanted to do only Accor, right? So very, very clear, because it's the first time I was traveling with my platinum status, right? And why I think when I invested in the China program cost me 25,000.
Correct.
25, 28.
26,
25,
27.
26,000. Perfect, right? When you spend 25,000, and if you were able to redeem that free nights, तो ऐसे ही वसूल हो गया.
Correct.
I was not able to redeem the free nights, right? But for 3 people,
Yeah.
in Macau, we got the cocktail hours,
Yeah.
we got the high tea.
Yeah.
I'll share some photos. The high tea in the Macau hotel was insane. It's Sofitel is a French brand, so they have a whole Eiffel Tower replica that they keep.
Oh yeah, and they have French high tea.
Yes.
Normally you are used to an English high tea.
Correct.
But the French high tea is like Epic.
And they have 10-15 pastries on each floor of the Eiffel Tower.
And don't miss the opera, man. It's sinful.
Insane, right? So that was one. The wine that they served during the cocktail hours was insane. Proper French wine. Like, because we don't drink much and my wife also doesn't drink much. I mean, she was like, "Ek drink me." She was like, anyways at Eiffel Tower, right? So that's a second, and 3 breakfasts, right? So that itself paid for in all the hotels put together.
Yeah.
Now coming to Hong Kong, this was Macau. We stayed in Macau for one night.
Where did you stay again?
Sofitel.
Sofitel Macau.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So it's called Sofitel Ponte 66 or something.
Right.
And by the way, there is a problem, right? So this Sofitel is actually far away from the Macau casinos.
Fire.
But there is a direct bus connectivity.
Yeah.
But I would say if you're going to Hong Kong, go to Macau.
Yeah.
Stay in this Sofitel. It's an
Yeah.
experience beyond awesome.
So the experience beyond awesome is because of
Suite upgrade.
the suite upgrade and the high tea and the cocktail hours. And
Absolutely.
How they pamper you and spoil you if you're platinum.
Absolutely.
Right.
And also, I think the suite upgrade was in a beautiful room, harbor facing.
And did you book this using your suite night upgrade of platinum?
No.
You just use a normal
No.
room, but then you were upgraded on arrival.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And
So why didn't you use your suite night certificate? And
Because-
where do you plan to use it?
yeah, the Suite Night upgrade. So I came to know very recently that Suite Night upgrade like you can actually use your points against the Suite Night upgrade, but the terms
Yes,
and
you can, yeah.
but the terms and conditions clearly says it's not allowed.
Ha.
So that's why I was just become platinum, so I didn't know whether they would allow my points. So I wanted to burn beforehand so that there is no stress.
Yeah, makes sense.
उधर जाके मालूम पड़ा कि नहीं burn नहीं करने देंगे, right?
correct,
So
correct.
that's why I didn't use
Yeah.
it. My plan to use the suite upgrades was typically in India.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not sure. I may actually not end up using it, right? Because if you are anyways pampered by getting free upgrades everywhere, like why do you really want to do it, right?
Yeah.
That's what my point would be. Coming to Hong Kong, Hong Kong, first let me break down the areas where you have to stay.
Yeah.
Right. So I've stayed at multiple places, and I think my favorite area to stay is Shim Sha Tsui. Shim Sha Tsui is right next to the harbour. It's a beautiful area, and it's like the South Bombay of Bombay, right? So it's like Colaba area of like, sorry, very poor analogy, but
No, go for it. Yeah.
And Tsim Sha Tsui mein, unfortunately, there is only one hotel of Accor, which is the Mondrian. And the Mondrian is, by the way, that part of Accor, which is the modern vibe.
Yeah.
The modern, hip, young vibe.
Yeah.
Right? It's not classy.
So is it more like the Moxie of Marriott?
Kind of. But Moxie ka probably ek level upar, maybe.
Achha.
Right? So it's very modern, very... it's one of those few restaurants jahan pe the breakfast buffet is not a buffet, it's a buffet plus a la carte. Right? So you have... awesome avocado toast, for example, like crazy. So basically they have two menus, one a la carte, and then there is a menu where there are 15 items listed, you can choose any 5.
Yeah.
My wife, when we entered Hong Kong the first night, we were going to Hong Kong, then to Macau, coming back. I had booked the M Gallery for the second stay. She said, no doing anything, we are staying here. Just for the breakfast, we are staying here.
So the lesson here is always book flexible rates.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Normally, saver rates and non-refundable rates will be cheaper on revenue and on points as well. But you never know. You pay that 10-15% premium because it gives you the flexibility to change whatever you like. If you like
Perfect.
a particular hotel, cancel at the last moment, change.
Perfect. And they gave us a corner suite upgrade. Not suite, actually, it was a room. The suite, I think they didn't have it at that point of time, but it was a beautiful view.
Yeah.
So, if you know, there is a 8 p.m. Victoria Harbour pe, there is a show that happens.
Okay.
It's called the Symphony of Lights.
Achha.
So, people line up in the harbour to see that Symphony
Yeah.
of Lights, right? The other way to do it is you can take a cruise during that time and you can see from the cruise the Symphony of Lights. The third way of doing it, stay at Mondrian, take that suite, see it from your room.
Nice.
It's awesome, right? Obviously, you can't hear the music, but the music is not that critical.
Yeah.
The fact that you're sitting there, so I took my favorite coffee. I was sitting, the last day, I just sat there and saw the Symphony of Lights. So the rooms are awesome. The people are very good. It's not the biggest property, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a very tall property. It's not like a wide property. So you can't walk around the property as such, right? So very good. The breakfast area is very good. So I would strongly recommend the Mondrian. I think me and Amaya discussed this, right? He stayed at a few other hotels. I think he'll speak about it. But the location mattered to me. So I didn't choose the slightly inside location and chose Mondrian. But I heard the AKI is also a very good hotel, AKI M Gallery.
Oh yeah. I really liked the M Gallery one. I had a very interesting experience. Let's just put it mildly.
You were there for 3 nights, Amaya.
I was there for 3 nights.
Yeah, so let's break it down. You used your China vouchers.
So hear it out completely, right? So I bought the China vouchers for 26,000, and that gave me 30 nights more in Accor.
Correct.
That is, one side benefit. Now, the China voucher, it basically gives you 2 free night stay vouchers.
Correct.
And it gives you a bunch of these vouchers for 50% off rate,
Correct.
and then restaurant discounts,
Yes.
and free wine bottle to your room, and this and that, whatnot. Like, there's a lot of vouchers, a big bouquet of vouchers. Go to Hong Kong once. Now, not just this, there happened to be around the time when I was visiting, there was a special Accor offer going on from China. It was they started off as a singles day offer, so you have to buy things during the singles day. Singles day is 1111 is the singles day. It's a big day in China. It's the Chinese variant of Big Billion Day, and
That's when we all bought the membership.
But the offer that I'm talking of was also valid during Singles Day. The offer went like this: you need to do 3 stays in Accor until whatever Jan end was the formal timeline. 3 stays means 3 different hotels or 3 different chunks of this thing, and you have to use these vouchers as well. And if you do that, that gets you platinum through 2026.
So 2 years.
2 years
So
platinum.
they issue it in 25, and that will be valid till 26 because of the soft landing.
Yeah.
So basically, what I ended up doing is I used 1 free night at one of the 4 stars, Novotel, decent hotel, nothing very fancy, great location. I used 1 more free night at. I used the 50% off voucher at the M Gallery that you
AKI.
talked of, the AKI one. Beautiful hotel, by the way. Very modern, very nice vibe. They upgraded us in all the.
It's a Japanese themed hotel.
It is a Japanese themed hotel. They in fact have like this tatami suite, which
Yeah,
was
tatami suite, correct.
pretty nice. And then another free night in another 4 star, which is a Novotel again. And the hard part, however, was not all of this logistics. The hard part was convincing my wife that it's okay to stay in 3 hotels for 3 nights. But I mean, look at it all in all, right? Look at the maths. I spent 26,000 rupees on the China program.
Yeah.
Plus, because of the 50% off voucher, I ended up spending another 9,000 rupees that was paid for in Accor points.
35,000 is what you spent.
So yeah, 35,000 I spent. On that also I got benefits for with double dipping and what, but let's not even get into that. For that I got 3 nights. All 3 nights I got upgraded.
Yeah.
Plus I got platinum status for 2 years. Plus whatever 30 elite nights for the current year itself.
Yeah.
So I think it was an excellent deal from a if you're strictly doing the maths and whatnot. And I got upgrades in pretty much all of them. They had like excellent lounges. All of that continues to hold. So
No, but I think this is what the beautiful part is. The first time, like I have actually behaved like a non-value customer, I'll tell you, right? मेरे पास free night का voucher था,
लेकिन
मैंने
मैंने
use
नहीं
किया.
किया.
Because I loved the hotel Mondrian and I had points, right? So that's where we keep saying that थोड़े से points जमा कर लो. It gives you that ability to play around such decisions,
पर
right?
वो भी है ना दीमत की experience matters.
Yeah, it
देखो,
does
एक
matter.
बार जा रहे हो हांगकांग तो सही में मजे करेंगे.
Yeah. On a lighter note, I think he was talking about convincing. My wife was very clear. मैं room change नहीं करूँगी. I am not changing my room. I don't care about your points. I don't care about your.
Same. I have the same doctrine at home. Boss ये तुम्हारा points side में रखो. सब ठीक है.
By the way,
But
I'm being very honest. Like the breakfast at the top of the Mondrian is totally worth every 900 rupee I spent. I mean, just kidding. I mean, obviously I spent points as well. But I mean, when my wife and my daughter saw that I spent 116 rupees for the first night, I spent the 700 while checking out the last night. She was like, Papa, how can you play 116? We ate like 6 times and like whatnot. I said, this like it's hard to justify.
Yeah.
Right. So even if you put the 25,000 rupees in the mix, it's not like the 25,000 rupees only pays for this trip, right? I mean, any trip that I do later, I'm also going to use Accor, right?
Obviously. So it averages out for the whole year.
Yeah, and I so that is where I actually stand right now. The M Gallery, I was actually very tempted to try because M Gallery is one of my favorite chains. But again, Montreal is a unique.
No, it's a beautiful hotel. Like I got like this bay view, a room, upgraded, very modern, very clean. So I think the room was like you enter and then they had like this separate passage, and then the bed is behind the passage and what.
But I still feel that okay. By the way, the other points booking that I've done in the past, I've stayed in InterContinental in Shimsha Shui.
I've heard great things about that one.
So I'll tell you one thing. No matter what, stay at Shimsha Shui. It'll give you a very good vibe of the city and very good feel. And I'll tell you another reason why. I spoke about the experiences. We'll talk about a little later in the show, right? Everything is walkable from Shimsha Shui. That's another advantage, right? So, for example, the museums and all the places are very, very close by. So that's another reason why I should stay in Shimsha Shui. Earlier, very interesting trivia, right? Till 2018, there used to be this concept in Hong Kong hotels where if you go there, each hotel would have a phone, a 3G enabled phone. Okay? You go in the room, you check in, you take the phone. Till the time you are in Hong Kong, you use that SIM card and the full data free.
Yeah.
Everything is free. It's moved out now. I think that culture is out now. It doesn't work anymore. I was actually asking the guy, where is the phone? He's like, okay, we don't keep it anymore. The second thing which we did not speak about is when you land in Hong Kong, do experience the Airport Express. It's a beautiful infrastructure. It takes you directly to the city. So Shimsha Shui is part of a place called Kowloon. That's one of the areas in Hong Kong, right? So you stay there. The Airport Express takes you there, and like it's a beautiful infrastructure. You should definitely try that, right? So that's for hotels. I think InterContinental is another beautiful hotel if you want to try. But again, if you have revenue bookings to make and if you have the money to splurge, I would choose this over Mondrian because the location is even better.
Follow-up question to both of you. Let's do it rapid fire style. If you had to book one hotel on points in Hong Kong, which you think is the most epic redemption, what would it be and why?
I mean, you mean if you had points in that program?
If you had points, yeah.
In that program?
Wherever.
InterContinental.
The source for accumulating IHG points in India? There is no source, right?
No source. I mean, there is.
Citibank used to be a source where you could transfer, but and of course Axis is, but the values.
Yeah, value is poor.
It's very poor value. Amir?
I'm very tempted by the Mondrian one, though I really enjoyed the M Gallery as well. I don't mind staying at the M Gallery again, but I think to try out something different, if I do visit again, I think
Mondrian.
Now I might want to do this in October. Again, you've given me advice that don't club it with your Japan.
Yeah, Japan.
But say I still want to mess around. What hotels should I add?
No, add Mondrian. Because you have Accor points, choose Mondrian. And I think you're part of the signature program, so you'll keep getting those 5,000 points. Yeah. Choose Mondrian. And two interesting trivia about Mondrian, right? One, I spoke about the breakfast and the view from the breakfast area. The second thing is, when you go to the Victoria Peak, right? And when you go to any prominent location in the city, you can actually see the Mondrian. Yeah. It's that tall. It's got a stair design. The rooms are designed like a stair. You can see it from anywhere in the city. So you feel really, really good about staying there, right? And the second thing, Adil, in October, if you're doing Hong Kong, do consider also probably checking Macau out as well. Yeah. I know it will be a little hectic if you're also doing Singapore, Japan, but try the Sofitel Macau. I would recommend you add that to your itinerary.
But on the M Gallery, I'll call out one thing. The Mondrian is not available if you want to use any of these 50% discount vouchers that you get in China.
That's why.
So I think if you want a balance over there, number one. Number two, the M Gallery, it's a lot closer to all the local shopping districts.
Gallery can be done using free voucher also?
Free voucher, no. Yeah. Free voucher, no. There's a 50% off you can do.
No hotel.
Free voucher, no hotel.
Only no hotel. Yeah.
No
I saw his face.
No, but the...
No hotel. It's all right.
The Hong Kong no hotel is actually very basic.
There's Sofitel. There's M Gallery. And then there's no hotel.
No, but I let me go one step back, Adi.
Yeah.
I know you said, tell me why you would want to club it with Japan. I don't agree with that.
No, I totally agree. It's just that I have those 2 nights. It's on the way. You educated me about Asia Miles.
आप next time ऊटी जाने के बदले हांगकांग चले जाओ ना.
Yes,
PR है ना? Why not?
It actually is not that expensive.
You have Cathay ka availability. You have PAR. You have points. What do you need to be in a foreign country?
So we will discuss that in another episode. But for now, right, let's come to experiences. Now, they always say Hong Kong is a little bit for everyone. Whether you're a solo traveler, you are a couple, you could be in a group as a family, you could be with kids, right? So let's start with you, Amya, and then we come to Dhiman. What do you think are good experiences one should look for when visiting Hong Kong? What are must-dos?
Sure. I mean, you called out the Disneyland and whatnot, which is great if you're going with kids or maybe even not with kids. But I'll tell you a few things, right? And this is one thing that my wife has been very happy with is some of the shopping, right? So the Causeway Bay is one of the areas which is there. Great street shopping. One of the brands she keeps talking about, I believe it is called Believe. It's called Believe. And I mean, not very fancy. It's street shopping. It's like local, this one. But, good quality, different kind of fashion. And she's become a big fan, right? So I think street shopping for sure. And we did have comments in the past where people have been saying
I have something specific for those people today. You want me to cover it?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Street shopping. So there is, if you're staying in Shimsha Tsui, one station away, there is an area called Mong. You have to go there, right? So Mong is a kind of Chinatown, like of that city, because every city these days has a Chinatown, right?
Yeah.
So not really a Chinatown, but it's like Chinatown, right? So in the Mong area, you have something, there is a night temple, right? And around the night temple, you have multiple markets. So for sneakerheads, there is a sneaker market. It's called Sneaker Street. There is a lady street where the ladies can actually shop for the regular stuff that they do, right? Then there is a street where you get all your souvenirs, right? So if you are looking for an area to shop street style, bargaining style, go to Mong.
Yeah, Mong is like Chickpet basically.
Yeah.
Mong is Chickpet and Shimsha Tsui then will become something like, Com Street.
So Chickpet is this crazy area in Bangalore. Google it. And you will see a lot of it on Google Maps and reviews on TripAdvisor.
So we have this Temple Street night market there. It's awesome. Like, it's fun. And by the way, there was a very interesting thing that happened this time when we went. It was a Lunar New Year, or I don't know whether it's a regular occurrence. There was a food market there, right? And there was like so many Indian chaat houses there in that food market. वहाँ पे I asked them, like, "तुम कहाँ से हो?" Like, मैं तो नेपाली हूँ, sir. That guy is selling momos and he's selling chaat. Right, so you have this place where you get all the food delicacies. So that's what I was telling. Versus Singapore, Hong Kong is actually quite cheap if you know the right places to eat and shop.
Yeah.
Right. So also from a lens of this Mong Kok areas and all, try the street food. Right, so we're going to talk about some of the street food, but yeah, that is one of the recommendations when it comes to street shopping at least.
I didn't really like Sneaker Street too much, by the way, and I know you will say no to that because you understand that a lot more.
Yeah.
I felt it was like, the Brigade Road kind of vibes, like, so many of these Puma, Adidas, all the big brands are there, and sure, it's great if you probably know what you're looking out for. I did not. So.
See, I've realized this, right? Some of the time we are not able to connect to certain things, right? But for example, जब आप Bangkok जाते हो, right? People want to go to malls and shop, right? Sasta hai. Like, okay, sasta to.
Right.
There are so many local markets in India, but a lot of people go to these cities also saying, okay, I'll do one day worth shopping and go to different places and shop. Like, even if it's the same thing, I don't care, right? So, like, from that lens, I feel this is an area that you can try and shop out and see.
But with respect to shopping, the fact that there's no tax in Hong Kong, if you want to do luxury shopping, I think it's the place to go.
Correct.
If you're in for that side of things, you can pick up, I think, some good items on the cheap there.
Well, let's double click a little bit about experiences for kids. So we spoke about Disneyland, but is like, should one do the ocean park? What about the cable cars?
Yeah.
What are other experiences? Are these hyped? Are these must-dos? Have you all tried it? What are your experiences?
I have done everything.
Yeah.
I've done everything.
So talk about
I think he has done nothing because I asked
Close to
him
nothing.
Yeah.
My Hong Kong trip was like yum and shopping. That is all.
No, we're going to come to Yum Yum.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions there, so we will cover that for sure. But let's finish this.
Over a period of 5 trips, I can tell you all the things I've covered. Disneyland I've covered twice. Disneyland, I actually rate the Hong Kong Disneyland very high.
Yeah.
And it's one of the emptiest Disneylands because of the Hong Kong tourism issue that is currently going on. I strongly recommend. अगर कम लाइन में खड़ा रहना है तो हांगकांग जाके डिज्नीलैंड करो. It's Japan. Disneyland is a nightmare, right? It's like the lines are huge.
Yeah.
That's one. I strongly recommend Ocean Park.
Yeah.
We didn't do it for the second time because we had got enough of it the first time.
Yeah.
Right. So you can see pandas. I mean, proper big area pandas. Like they're not caged, right? They're out in a proper green surroundings, and they actually do those dumb things that we see them doing on those Instagram reels, and it's fun. Like they tumble over, and the kids like enjoy it like anything, right? So I would strongly recommend the Ocean Park. You also see some of the different animals like the red panda and all of those animals which you generally don't find it in normal zoos, right? So that's interesting. Surprisingly, I don't like museums much, but the Space Museum and the Science Museum is just out of the world. Out of the world, right? So not only kids, Adil, even you will enjoy it, right? So there is an area, for example, in the Science Museum where you go inside a room and you press a button, it will tell you how you feel during a typhoon. The push that you get, the air that you get, right? And the Science and the Space Museum is another one that you should definitely try, Adil, for kids. Ocean Park, Disneyland, Science Museum, Space Museum. This is exclusively for kids. Strongly recommend. And you spoke about the cable car.
Yeah.
There is a cable car inside Ocean Park.
Yeah.
So that takes you from one place to another, and that's a very exciting experience. Victoria Peak Tram is like one of my favorite places. Like the peak is actually one of my favorite places. Two reasons. One, I think the view is beautiful. You can see the entire Hong Kong from there. Even the Mondrian, like I spoke, you can see the Mondrian very well from there. Also, it has some nostalgia for me because at the peak, there used to be some beautiful eating places at the top, at the peak. So they used to call this, they used to have this concept of saying if there is a particular Burger King, for example, right? They would say Burger King at the peak. Right? But there were some unique places also. Like, for example, there used to be a rainbow toast. It's called Kala Toast. You can search about it. I'll share some photos. It was like 6 different cheese colors in a toast. So people used to go there at the top just to eat food.
Yeah.
Right? So, and the tram has now been renewed, but earlier they used to have
like
the old one.
Desis from India going to Switzerland to take pictures like Shah Rukh Khan.
Correct.
And this is like, I can relate to what you're saying.
But this is not that touristy. Like, it's not that touristy. Like, I genuinely enjoyed the experience. When you move up the train, the going down of the tram is not so much fun.
Yeah.
The going up the tram, when you can see all the skyscrapers completely, horizontal, vertically standing, it's very good experience. Right? So I would strongly recommend doing the peak. The last suggestion which I have is the Hong Kong Park. Now, if you go to a Singapore or if you go to India or Mumbai, right, you're not going to do Mumbai Park, right? But the Hong Kong Park is insane. There is an aviary inside the Hong Kong Park. I have never seen such an aviary in my life. It's free. We are not habituated to do such things free of cost, right? Because you pay crazy amount of money. For example, I'll compare it to the Jurong Bird Park in Singapore. You pay like 6,000-7,000 rupees in a bloody humid weather in Singapore, and you have to run behind things to even sight few birds. Like, this is amazing. The aviary is something out of the world, right? So they have very, very unique birds flying freely, very well taken care of, and that's another experience that I would strongly suggest you try. Now, these are my top suggestions.
Got it. So with that, let's come to the final section of our episode, which my good friend Ameya has christened as the Great Indian Yum Yum Show. So we'll talk about this as the Foodie's Paradise on our show. I want to know a lot about this section, but there are 3 things that I have read and I am keen on trying, and I'm sure, I don't know, Ameya, maybe you've tried a couple, Dimant, I don't know, let's see how adventurous you all are. Pineapple buns.
Yes.
Roast goose, Cantonese dim sums.
Okay.
ये 3 हांगकांग जाओगे तो करना ही है किसी को भी.
Yeah.
Have you tried them? What are they like? Where do you get the best of them? Where should people go? Should they try it? Should they not try it?
Yeah. So, you want to start first? Like, or
Sure, pineapple buns. It has no pineapple, number 1. It is just shaped like a this.
Talk about it. What exactly is it that people get a sense?
It's like a sweet bun, like it's like a bread that has got some sugar on top while you bake it, so you get a caramelized crust of sorts. And the typical way to eat it, not in all places, but you basically slice that and then you add like a slice of cheese and some butter inside it, and you're gonna eat it like that. Decadent, nice. It pairs really nicely with the Hong Kong style tea. So the way they make the tea is very similar, eerily similar to how they make the tea in India, especially the south of India in some sense. They've got like a muslin cloth from which they will strain it. It's a milk tea, unlike a lot of other places. They have like a...
Is it similar or different to the Thai tea?
It's like an Irani chai, sir.
Ah, lovely. Is it hot or cold?
Hot.
Hot. Okay.
Hot. And it is delicious. You have these, so we have the darshanis in Bangalore. You've got the Hong Kong variant of darshanis, they call it. Let me try to remember. It's called a Chaan Ching. Or, I'm probably butchering some of the...
coming from the chickpea and like darshini.
No, but it's, the traditional dishes. And they've got a bunch of other dishes also that I found a little funny, and I didn't have all of it. So they have something like, mac and cheese with sausage, which I didn't have. But I think the classic combination is you get a cup of Hong Kong tea, you get the pineapple bun stuffed with cheese and butter, and you eat that. And it's like, it pairs very nicely, I think.
So basically, it's bun maska with chai in India.
It is bun maska,
Yeah.
basically.
Sorry, I'm like a little emotional about this, but like pineapple bun is slightly more crusty.
Yeah.
It's a little more crusty on the top. And you have a maska bun, it's like a soft bun, right?
one,
It's
yeah.
a little crusty.
Yeah.
So it's a pastry, it's an art that they generally... So yeah, they named it pineapple bun because it looks like a outside of a pineapple from the outside, but it's more crusty and have a sugar crusting at the top, right? So a lot of people also put some sort of a jam inside and eat it, right? So that's one. But the most interesting thing that I ever eaten in Hong Kong that I haven't eaten outside is the egg tarts.
The egg tarts are delicious.
Insane.
So,
Egg tarts.
So
they look...
the egg custard.
Yeah. It looks like custard inside, but it's made up of like a egg filling and slightly sweet.
But also slightly savory at the same time.
No,
Slightly savory.
there is two classes of them. Okay, so it came from a Portuguese tradition. So there's a type that you get in Hong Kong. There's the types you get in Macau.
Yeah.
The ones in Macau, it'll have a little more sugar and then you caramelize it on the top while baking. The one in Hong Kong, very little sugar. It's like more eggy in some sense, right? My Chinese friend tells me, like, in China, the highest praise you can give for a dessert is that it is not too sweet. So when a Chinese person ever compliments a dessert saying it is not too sweet, they mean that it is really nice.
But the egg tart is something that you have to develop a taste for.
Yeah.
In the first go, you're expecting it to be a custard filled tart. It's not. It's slightly
eggy.
Eggy, but also it's not like, it doesn't hit the sweet spot. It's not like, it's like having, for the first time you're habituated to have tea with sugar, and if you don't put sugar, how do you feel, right? It feels different. Over a period of time, you develop a taste for it, right? But I love, and by the way, best place to eat it, it is exactly like the Mumbai Vada Pav. There is no best place to eat it. Stop at a local vendor, get that egg tart, don't try to compare whether this is the best or not.
There is one local guy over there that I ran into. He made his tarts with a little bit of coconut in it. Very nice,
Exactly.
like different,
Everybody
but
has small twist, right? Even in Vada Pav, like I gave an example, the reason why you like it different places, somebody puts kadhi patta, somebody puts more lasan, somebody puts less lasan. Similarly, they have their own, koi itne chote hote, koi itna bada hota hai, like it, sizes are also different, right? So that's egg tart for you, right? One of my favorite things that I've developed a taste for over the years.
Oh yeah.
The second interesting thing that I found, I don't know if you tried it, it's called egg puff.
Yeah.
Okay, and we are from Bangalore, so we have a different variety of egg puff, but their egg puff is different. So it's like a Belgian waffle.
Oh.
So what they do is, they have a batter of the waffle, but they call it egg puff. They'll mix a lot of egg into it in the batter, and they will make those fresh waffle kind of things. And then the same thing, they will put chocolate, Nutella, but they call it egg puff. And it's damn cheap. Like
very cheap.
Like 40 rupees, 50 rupees, you'll get a nice egg puff. Local, right?
Yeah.
So
I personally did not like that one as much.
Oh, I loved it.
But I guess different.
It's like the Belgian waffle. And like I didn't try it obviously because, but my colleagues who were with me during my work trip there, they love something called fish curry balls. Right? These are these balls of rice made of some sort of a rice which are dipped in fish and rice, and it's dipped in curry sauce. And there are street vendors who only serve this. Like on a stick, they will put multiple balls on the stick and they'll give it to you. Beautiful. Like it's very picturesque. Like if you, the street food ka picturesque काफी सही होता है. Like I heard a lot of people talking. Roast, which you said? Roast?
The roast goose.
I don't know. I don't
So
know.
Dim sums.
Dim sums I tried also. So roast goose is a bit of a delicacy there for sure. I mean, I've heard from a lot of people, but I don't eat meat. We didn't have that. Dim sums, Hong Kong, I think it is the rough part of China where a lot of dim sums also sort of come from. So it's delicious. I can tell you a few places. So there is this one chain I first had from them in Seattle, but it's a Michelin star chain, Din Tai Fung, right?
Din Tai Fung is in Singapore also.
Yeah. So it's there in a bunch of places.
So Din Tai Fung is epic for like
But
seafood.
the one in Hong Kong is the one with the Michelin, this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Sure.
and man, delicious. Like it is a little on the expensive side, but I was like, okay, you know what? As an experience, let's try this one out. And I think it was like very nice. But even a lot of your local shops, like, you know, sure, it can be a little hard for a vegetarian to get the sufficient variety, but if you search enough, you'll be able to find it.
Din Tai Fung has an epic fried rice, man.
Yeah, their fried rice is like just so nice.
I'm telling you.
But this,
so normally the menu has a lot of pork, okay?
Yeah.
And for someone who doesn't eat pork, it's difficult to make a choice there. But I go to Din Tai Fung just for the fried rice.
Their egg fried rice is so nicely made.
I've
Yeah.
never had fried rice.
So,
Yeah.
like, the unique thing about the dim sums in Hong Kong that I found was that a lot of places make this yellow sheet se bana hua dim sum.
Yeah.
Sui mai.
Unlike the... Huh?
Sui mai.
Huh,
Chicken sui mai, prawn sui mai.
but the outer coating is yellow, the yellow sheet.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And I, if I'm not mistaken, dim sum actually means touch the heart as a literal meaning.
I
of
see.
it, right?
I did not
it's
know
actually
that.
very. So dim sum, what I found in Hong Kong is dim sums are very. They melt in your mouth. It's very soft as compared to the momos that we have.
Correct.
They're very melty and they have like a little more watery.
Delicate also.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I found challenging to find veg options.
I found
honestly.
a few places. I can probably add it to the show notes, but there is this one place where I had like, you know, pandan dim sums.
Yeah,
Then there is a salted egg custard kind of a thing that actually was quite tasty. We'll add it to show notes.
Yeah.
But one more thing, now that we talk of Hong Kong, and you know, I think it's an opportunity for a lot of people from India to try out some authentic Chinese food. So there's a number of Shanghai restaurants. There's a number
hot
of
pots, huge hot pots.
hot pots, but again, vegetarian food is hard, but
okay, you're
you
talking
can
vegetarian.
still get the. But one thing I will definitely call out is try out a Szechuan place. It's so very different flavors. So I don't know if you've ever tried out Szechuan peppers. If I know you can buy it nowadays in India on Amazon and whatnot, I'll add a link. But okay, so think about the taste as spicy yet sour. Like it's almost citrusy in some things, and it's a different kind of a spice. And after some time, it makes your tongue go numb. Like weird numb. It feels really nice. But so you've got like a soup with the spice.
Did you take a lot of spice?
I can take a lot of spice. But
No spice, no? Maybe.
I'm average, yeah.
this is a very different spice though. Like, you know, I mean, it's not the hot spice that we are sort of used to. It's a very subtle, different kind of a spice. And then mung bean noodles inside like the spicy soup kind of a thing with a lot of spring onion and whatnot. I think it was very nice.
But like very interesting point. I think you spoke about Chinese. I'll tell you a lot of people who struggle massively in Hong Kong and China for veg food, right?
Yeah.
One pro tip, and this I learned after many trips. If you don't go into it and ask a vegetarian hai, non-vegetarian, go to a Buddhist restaurant. Easiest hack to find pure veg food, go to a Buddhist restaurant. Like in Hong Kong also there are Buddhist restaurants, number one. If you're an Indian and if like my daughter you are craving South Indian food when you are outside, there's a Sarvana Bhavan at Tsui. Expensive but great at least. If you get tired of eating wontons and this dim sums, give a visit to Sarvana Bhavan.
So I've been to the one in Singapore. It doesn't get it.
Yeah, it doesn't get
Okay,
it, but
but ठीक है, मतलब compromise कर सकते
शिमशा
हैं.
शिल्प में अगर हो तो कर लो try अगर आपको करना
First
है.
time when I had visited Delhi, incidentally, so I was like, you know, I got done with some work and then I tell the rickshaw wala that, भैया, we are near the cannot place this. I'm like, जो कोई अच्छी जगह हो खाने की ले चलो मुझे. He drops me off at the Sarvana Bhavan. Then I'm like coming from Chennai and I'm like, okay.
No, but I think Adil, very honestly, like a lot of people do crave Indian food when they're outside. Like I'm not those guys, but like I eat McDonald's also. कुछ भी खा लूँगा मैं.
मैं तो अभी I have discovered my favorite hack. मैं अभी वापस आया. And as soon as I came out of T2 in Bangalore, we have CTR that is open.
Oh yeah.
First thing, dash straight there on a bike.
Oh yeah.
But I found an interesting hack when I go outside.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my hack. Right? One thing we don't as much appreciate the Indian McDonald's, but I love going to different McDonald's.
Oh yeah. I like to try them.
Dude, I'm telling you, forget fish burger. I'm saying every unique country has so much innovation. I wish
they
India
do,
brings
they
that.
do. Yeah.
Like for example, in Hong Kong, I found those curly fries.
Yeah.
So nice. I don't know why they don't get it to India. There's like Hello Kitty collection of soft serves.
Also, the quality of protein I found in other countries is way better.
Even
They
Japan-
use in burgers.
Japan McDonald's is crazy.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, one thing you will not miss if you're in Hong Kong that way is the Desi Kadak Chai, the Hong Kong tea. Awesome. Yeah, they make it like an Irani
Pair
chai.
it
So
with
yeah.
a pineapple bun, which has no pineapple.
All right. Any final food recommendations before we wrap this up?
My two recommendations.
Yeah.
One, go local, have the egg tarts.
Yeah.
Second, stay at Mondrian. If you're not staying at the Mondrian, go and dine there.
Yeah.
If you are not staying there and if you're not doing breakfast there, at least go for your free drink there or drink there.
Yeah.
Wine, this amazing wine they serve. Like obviously you don't drink, I know, but for people who are interested in wine, they serve a great Italian wine, right? So and the view of Mondrian restaurant is out of the world. He'll give you the Victoria Harbour. You can actually see the same show from the restaurant as well, the Symphony of Lights.
Yeah.
And one more recommendation I have is there is a specific cruise which does the rounds of the Victoria Bay with food on board. So if you are an experimental person who likes non-veg and is able to take multiple meats, take that. Vegetarians cannot make the best out of it because it's mostly a non-veg, right? And one last non-food recommendation, Adil, I want to make because I missed it during the experiences part. Just like we have normal transport boats, the cheapest way, if you're going on a budget, to do is there is their own ferry, the Star Ferry it is called. It has been running from 100 plus years. The Star Ferry just moves from station to station. It's like $30. Don't take the $200 ferries if you're on a budget. Just take that $4, see the entire lighting, the entire buildings, everything, and you're done.
Wow, nice.
Excellent. Excellent. Amaya?
One thing that I missed out in all of this yum talk is the desserts. Hong Kong desserts really tasty. I will give links to places that I've been to, but things like, lots of mango-based desserts, mango, sago kind of based desserts, these mango rolls and stuff. But one very specific Hong Kong thing you must try is they call it a milk pudding.
Tofu pudding. It's
No, not
pudding.
tofu. It's just milk. So how they make it is they take fresh ginger juice and the enzymes in the ginger juice will coagulate the milk together and you get like this custardy kind of a texture, right? Again, not too sweet. It's eaten warm. You get like a big bowl full of it, but just very, very tasty. I will add...
But if you don't eat the egg or like dairy ka bhi if you have a problem, because I think the milk pudding has egg, if I'm not
Milk pudding does not have egg, just ginger.
The tofu pudding is, by the way, a revelation to me. Like, that was one of the desserts that I loved outside the egg tart, and like tofu pudding is also brilliant. Like, we can probably leave that option as well.
Milk pudding, if you people are also willing to cook at home, it is easy to make. All you're going to need is milk, fresh ginger, and a thermometer
Hong Kong style
milk pudding, and it's delicious. It's like, it's just emulsified, solidified milk in some sense, but tasty.
I would add the tofu pudding also to the recommendation, by the way.
I didn't have that one, but I had a bunch of other mango desserts and stuff and definitely loved it.
Oh, by the way, one call out. I think a lot of people who have been to Japan, for example, or heard about 7-Eleven. The 7-Eleven in Hong Kong is quite disappointing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like very average, nothing. You can't eat there like all the time. So McDonald's probably would be a good option in Hong Kong if you want to.
Right, with that, time to bring this to a close. Thanks, Deepak. Thanks, Samya, for joining in as always. To all of you, thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of the Great Indian Points and Miles Show. If you're enjoying what we're bringing to you, please drop in a comment. Let us know whether you're liking it, disliking it, hating it, or absolutely feel that we are crushing it. Let us know, because your inputs will help us get better and bring out even more. You can tweet to us, to our Twitter handle. We're available on Twitter. We're also on Instagram. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, bell icon, because we need you to be engaged. We upload shorts on a regular basis and you'll be notified every time we put up a short or we bring up on this long form episode of content. With that, this is Deepak, Amya and Adil signing off.
Lights flashing bright, we're on the go. Tune in now, there's so much to know. Earning bits, travel dreams we sow. All aboard the Great Indian Points and Miles Show. 0 to hero in the blink of an eye. Fly first class, no need to be shy. Redemption sweet, touching the sky. Award seats booked, let's give it a try. Award seats booked, let the points flow. It's all aboard the Great Indian Points and Miles Show. Unlocking journeys wherever you go. The sky's the limit, feel the travel mojo. Hidden treasures in every flight. Nights in places that feel so right. From deserts to the city lights. Get set, steal those dazzling sights. Miles stack up each passing day. Rewards come back in a million ways. In this game you want to play the great Indian adventure, yay! Award seats booked, let the points flow. It's all aboard the Great Indian Points and Miles Show. Unlocking journeys wherever you go. The sky's the limit, feel the travel mojo.